They just keep on coming. Here we go again. Once again, it is Dralnu, the Lich Lord, the budget EDH commander of choice right now, versus Radiant Archangel. Not a white general you see very often. Generally, if you're playing mono white and Thalia isn't your general, you're probably doing it wrong, seeing as how that's the only way that I've ever seen mono white really work particularly well. And now maybe this guy has some strategy that I have not thought of yet. We will find out shortly. Regardless, my hand is right on the borderline of being keepable. If this had been an island instead of a swamp, it would have absolutely been a keeper because of Ponder and Night's Whisper and a bunch of other acceleration. But unfortunately, I have to mulligan. He's keeping 7, and my opening hand, much, much better. The Tainted Isle definitely doing work here, given that I drew a swamp to go with it. So this is a very nice keepable hand. We'll see what's on top. Urza's Factory. I think we'll keep that there as well, given that it's my third mana source. That's not an artifact. And he's going first. Uh-oh. Turn 1 mana. What could that mean, folks? You guessed it. Man, seriously. The amount of Soul Rings that I have to play against on turn 1. But of course, that's what makes these games dramatic a lot of the time, right? Especially a deck with Radiant Archangel. He kind of needs it, to tell you the truth, given that his general costs 5 and is pretty terrible. All right, we're going to play our Quasi Soul Ring, Wayfarer's Bauble. Takes 2 mana to make 1. It's like the opposite of this thing. All right, 4 mana. What's he up to? Blind Obedience. Huh, well, Extort, not too useful in a 40 life format, certainly, and not in mono white. The other ability, a little annoying, I guess, against my artifacts, though most of them come into play on their own, tapped on their own accord anyway, because I'm playing the budget format where all of the good mana artifacts aren't allowed. Inheritance. Interesting. I haven't seen this card in ages. I remember playing against it many years ago in draft and stuff, and it was okay back then because the format was really slow. But I suppose if he's got lots of token counters and stuff, it could be good. Or token creatures. Whenever a creature dies, though, so it's actually on either side. It's kind of like a fecundity, but it's one-sided, and you have to pay a lot of mana for it. So I can probably work my way around it so that if he doesn't draw a bunch more mana, that he won't be able to draw any meaningful amount of cards. But it could affect the board. Certainly Soul Ring makes it better. Concentrate. All right. Well, that's how Blue Deck draws cards. I'm not going to cast a Signet here because I plan to just use Bauble instead. I'm actually doing this right now, given the fact that I don't expect to be casting Into the Royal on anything at the end of the turn. I'm definitely going to be fetching, and there's no reason to let him draw an Aven Mind Sensor. If, in fact, he's playing with that card, there's no reason to risk it. I see a lot of people do that. They just figure, oh, well, this is an instant that I can play at the end of the turn or an instant effect, and so I'm just going to do it. But just like with creature removal, don't give your opponent a chance to untap if you don't need to. If you have every intention, like 100% intention of doing something, just do it right away rather than waiting. Because if you wait and you give them an opportunity to draw another card and untap, sometimes bad things can happen. Doomed Traveler. All right. Well, he's extorting me on that. He plays, coming to play tap land, so I did not have to deal with his general, which is quite nice. Decree of Pain. Fantastic card to draw right now, and given that he does have inheritance out, it might wind up him drawing a card or two off of it, but at least I don't have to pay more than 8 mana to draw as many cards as there are creatures in play. I'm just going to cast Concentrate here because I have the exact right hand size for it. I like to just cast this spell when it's going to take me up to 7, seeing as how I'm not under any real pressure, and I'm not honestly concerned about his general at all. It's only a 3/3. He's got 2 cards left in hand. It's just not that scary. Darksteel Citadel. Wonder why he's using that instead of a Plains to fuel his Emeria. End step. What in the hell? It's a really strange thing to do, like not playing any more mana. I mean, not playing his general. It's really an odd choice. Not that I'm going to complain. So I'm going to preordain first here, and I see Mana Leak, and I don't remember what the other card was. I clicked too fast, but I'm just going to keep the Mana Leak, of course, because that will stop the general. and prevent me from having to work around it other ways. And I'm going to play my Signet. I have every intention to just impulse, and this came into play tapped at the end of the turn. Thanks to the Blind Obedience. He played another mana. I can still Mana Leak Radiant. Let's see what he's up to. Perfect. And he extorts me right away. Not playing against around miscalculation, are you? Well, fortunately, I have Mana Leak, and I'm not going to even bother to cast it, because this thing is just a 3/3, and we just don't care, and I'd rather impulse at the end of the turn. So you know your general is not good when your opponent has a ton of mana available and has the ability to counterspell it with a pretty narrow counterspell like Mana Leak and opts not to anyway. That's the time when you get rid of your general and pick something else. All right, so we're keeping the duress off there. He's just got 2 cards in hand, and kind of the way that he's playing is a little bit fishy to me. And the card that I'm actually kind of worried about right now is Decree of Justice. The ability to cycle and put a bunch of angels into play could be bad. So I'm going to just get this. Obviously, Chainer's Edict is terrible right now because of Doom Traveler. I've got plenty of mana, so the Worn Power Stone isn't particularly important, and Thought Vessel obviously is a little worse than Worn Power Stone. So Duress, just take a peek at his hand, see what shenanigans are going on there, and also to clear the way for a Dralnu play in case he's holding on to something like Faith's Fetters or Arrest. Well, look at that. Hallowed Spirit Keeper, another creature I don't think I've ever played against before. When it dies, put 1 X/1/1 spirit tokens with flying into play, where X is the number of creature cards in the graveyard. Well, he has no creatures in the graveyard, so that's just a 3/2 for 3. And I guess he's playing with all this stuff that makes flyers because of their interaction with Radiant, Platinum Angel in hand. Not too concerned about that either. It's just a 4/4. So even though I whiffed, I kind of didn't, because the information was good enough to know that the way is clear for mighty Dralnu. Start using all this awesome stuff in the graveyard. Thran Dynamo. Well, we knew he drew that turn. And he elects not to extort me, which is weird. So we're taking 4 damage. There's a bit of a clock out here, but I still don't feel like I'm under tremendous pressure yet. I'm going to brainstorm. Evolving Wilds, Tidings, Counterspell. All right. So I put back the land and one other card, and I don't know, I probably shouldn't have cast Tidings here. Reason being that I've already got a Concentrate in the graveyard. I've got Impulse in the graveyard. There are no counterspells there, and I've got plenty in hand. But I do kind of need to start moving in the direction of getting this Decree off. I'm going to be taking 7 damage a turn, and the interaction with this guy is kind of annoying too, because of the ordering of creatures going to the graveyard. He can have the Hallowed Spirit Keeper go to the graveyard last, which means he will get some tokens off of it. And with all of this mana in play, the Inheritance could actually be a way for him to get back into the game, especially once Dralnu is no longer active. So my short-term plan is to just get Inheritance out of here so that I don't have to worry about that and slow him down as best I can. But I decided to cast Tidings first because I feel like I have enough time. And even though this means I'm likely going to have to discard, I'm not too concerned, because if I draw some random spell, I can just throw it away anyway. All right. I'm actually going to throw away the Evolving Wilds because I just suspect, based on the pace of the game, that I'll probably be able to hit land drops for the next 3 or 4 turns at a minimum, because of my ability to bring back Concentrate to cast Preordain and Impulse if need be. There's lots of ways I can get land if I need it, so the wilds are not going to matter. And I drew the Muse Vessel, which is kind of awesome, because it will allow me to get that Dralnu lock going after the Decree, depending on what happens. Plus I drew Probe, so I can clear his hand out with that too. It's funny how these discard spells are just so much better in a deck with Dralnu, because of the way that Dralnu can just lock down the game once they have no cards in hand. He's casting Aura of Silence, and that kills Muse Vessel and makes it cost 6 mana too, which I am not interested in doing. So given that I know he has no follow-up that I can't deal with another way, I mean, he could cast his Platinum Angel, but I mean, really, who cares? And he extorted me instead of casting Platinum Angel. Yeah, I fully intended for him to cast Platinum Angel there, emptying his hand out, and then I was going to just follow up and cast Decree of Pain and wipe the board out with it, minus the tokens that he gets back. But he kept it in hand, which is strange. So now we are going to probe with Kicker to get rid of the Platinum Angel, and I get Bojuka Bog, so that'll prevent the Angel from fueling this Hallowed guy. Just going to throw away 2 land. Not playing the Bog yet, though, because I'd like to keep the Into the Royal mana available, because I have plans for the end of the turn. Still under some pressure here. It's 17 life. It just says done. So at end step, normally I would happily pay the Kicker cost on this, but there's no reason to. I'm going to bounce the Blind Obedience. And I'm also going to bounce that Inheritance, because I have every intention of countering it on the way back out. Aeon Chronicler. Okay, well, not too great. Eat its graveyard. Alright, so this is the turn where I just play Skeletal Vampire. That's the other thing, too, is that if I play Skeletal Vampire and he's got Inheritance sitting in play, I can't block in any meaningful way, nor can I sack bats. I can't really do anything without giving him too much fuel. So I'm planning on just playing the Vampire to shore up the ground a little bit, and also, obviously, to make this thing a hell of a lot more potent when I do hardcast it. And Dralnu, I know that he doesn't have anything in his hand that I need to stop besides the Inheritance. At least I don't think so. Although I guess he has 1 mystery card. But I know that I can counterspell the Inheritance when it comes out. So he casts that Inheritance first, and we're just going to counter it right off the bat. Seems so wrong, but got to do it. So we're just setting up this play. Emeria Archangel. Excellent. Play more land, make more guys, please. And Blind Obedience comes down. Alright then, well, you've got an 8/8 Radiant Archangel. Good thing I've got a Skeletal Vampire out. Plenty of convenient ways to block, and this allows me to block and kill this thing too, to reduce the number of creatures that come back next turn. I'm going to sack pre-combat to regenerate my Vampire. Oh my god, what a delicious Decree of Pain this is. Before I cast it, of course, I'm going to give Preordain Flashback. I'm keeping 2 mana untapped as well, for both the Mana Leak and potentially for other counters I draw, and I drew Negate. And I drew the Mighty Hellkite. Fantastic. I'm just playing that right now, because I know I've got another land follow-up here, which is quite nice. I can just throw away some junk. Keeping the Dismal Backwater, actually, because of that Dismal one life point that it provides. So 1 card. Radiant comes back, extorts me. That's fine, we've got Go for the Throat, so it's not a threat at all. Not that I could do anything about it otherwise. So in lieu of charging and cycling, or cycling away the Miscalc, I'm just going to kill that thing right now. Night's Whisper. Okay. He's still a long way off from Emeria Skyruin, because he decided to play with these janky lands instead of plains. If he had 1 more plains to go before this thing activated, I would actually get pretty concerned about that. There's the Hellkite. I gain 1 life back. And I've got Mana Leak and Negate and Miscalc now to deal with Radiant if she comes back. And I probably do have to counter her that way. She costs 9 now, I think. So there's 9 mana. And I'm like, please, extort. And he doesn't do it, which is, I don't know if that's a mistake or if that's foresight or whatever, but anyway. So I Mana Leak it, of course, because I have to. And I fully expect him to pay, and he just lets it be countered. So who's going to complain about that? And then post-combat, I find out why he has Skull Clamp in his hand. But I have Negate for that. Because obviously, I cannot let a thing that allows him to draw 6 cards resolve when he has 0 cards in hand. So he does get to extort me. I'm down to 11. But now he's got a Hellkite problem. He's going to start taking bites out of these spirits, since he obviously has to block 1 every turn. Alright, so we're just going to replay the Dralnu. I'm going to cast Night's Whisper here too. I'm going to fetch a land first though. Treasure Cruise, very nice. Alright, let's go eat up a bunch of meaningless junk, a bunch of lands and stuff. Merchant Scroll, Legacy's Allure, and Diabolic Tutor. Fantastic. Angel of Serenity. Well, that is a hell of a top deck, and I fully expected him to just go and remove these two guys from the game, and I don't know, probably his Emiria extorts me. And instead of doing that, he gets two creatures, and he removes my Dralnu. Man, what is the deal with that? Do people just have no respect for Steel Hellkite at all? I've had so many opponents that just have the opportunity to kill or remove this thing, and they just let it sit there. I guess he's just very, very sure that his 5/6 will be able to defend against a 5/5, despite the fact I have 6 cards in my hand. Just no respect for the Hellkite. I'm going to charge at the end of turn. Stoic Rebuttal. It's quite timely to draw a nice hard counter there, so I don't have to tutor for it. And I'm going to tutor with the other tutor rather than Merchant Scroll to get. This is a no-brainer in my opinion. There's the deck in all of its glory. Recoil wouldn't be terrible, but that would put the cards back in his hand. I don't really want that to happen. Certainly Capsize would do a similar thing. Chainer's Edict, terrible against the remaining spirit. And yeah, it's just going to be this card. Good old control magic. And now I have a 5/6 and a 5/5, and of course he has to block again. Basically his entire game now is just resting on this card, given that I'm at 7. He's got to hope to live long enough, and I can play the Legacy's Allure because I've got Stoic Rebuttal. He top decks Blinkmoth Nexus. He's paying a bunch of mana. Play Radiant. I'm just going to counter it for the millionth time. That thing costs 11 now, I think. No, that was actually 11. It cost 13. It's crazy. All right. I'm going to put a counter on the Allure. Snag the Spirit. I just drew Pithing Needle here, and I could have played Pithing Needle to shut down Blinkmoth Nexus so that I could guaranteed remove Blind Obedience. But I know that he's going to block anyway, and I might as well save the Pithing Needle for something more relevant, given that one turn doesn't matter. I'm not going to die when I'm at 7 from an extort thing. So sure enough, he blocks the Hellkite. And I go get everyone's favorite counterspell, Forbid. And what did I cast there? Ponder. Definitely keeping Muddle on top. And Dralnu. Oh no, wait, what was that? What the hell did I play? What the hell did I just cast? Huh. I have no idea what I just played there. So he's casting Requiem Angel, a 5/5. Sorry, it's a little disconcerting because there's nothing in my log here that indicates what is going on. I'm just going to throw away the Pithing Needle and the Miscalc since I don't see any use for either one of those. I guess Miscalculation can stop his Angel now, but so can Forbid. And this game's going to be tidied up in a hurry here anyway. It's extorting me down to 6. I know what I did. Duh. I should pay more attention to the games I'm narrating. I suspended Aeon Chronicler in lieu of casting Dralnu because I figured that the extra cards with the Forbid would be basically the same thing. Plus it would cycle me through the deck faster and draw more counters along the way. Alright, we're going to finally get rid of that Blind Obedience that's been harrying me all this time. I've got an easy Forbid for his next turn, no matter what it is. And knowing that the writing is on the wall that he's getting eaten alive by a Steel Hellkite and these other creatures, and knowing that he's under Forbid Lock, Lord Dry packs it in wisely. Anyway, pretty cool game. It obviously was not the strongest opposition in terms of what my opponent was playing with, though he did open with a Soul Ring, and that gave him a lot more momentum early. But I don't really feel like I was ever terribly in danger of this game. It was really just a matter of sculpting a plan to maximize the degree of pain so that it inflicted the greatest deal of pain on my opponent. Hope you liked that game, though, and I have more to come for sure. See you soon.